Welcome back, everyone. So tonight we're going to take a look at Jin, probably one of the most talked about characters from the Dark Tournament. Not only is he a fan favorite, but he is also incredibly good. So without further ado, let's get into it. He is a 6-hand size, 27 health character with Air, Life, and Void. This is going to be a Void build for one main reason that we'll get to in a second. He has 2 responsibilities. The first is Tenacious, mill 1, so playable while committed. Mill 1 being discard the top card of your deck. After an attack is played, it gets -2 or +2 speed. And if you milled an attack this way, it gets +3 or -3 speed instead. So on every attack, most of the time, it's going to be plus or -2 speed, but every once in a while you'll get that +3 or -3 speed. And then he has a response commit. After your rival plays an enhance ability on an attack, if that attack has less than its printed speed, cancel its effects. So, you know, he's really good at canceling keyword abilities, like Powerful, EX, Echo, any other sort of enhance ability. Well, not an Echo because that's a responsibility, but any other types of enhances that would be really good. He's just a really good speed control and effect control character. The main reason I chose Void for this list, though, is the Flash keyword. For those uninitiated, Flash is a static ability that says, skip this attack's enhance step. So you play your attack, make your control check, open the response window after you've passed said control check to any responses that would activate when the attack is played, such as Jin's response. And then after that window closes, you go straight to the block step. You really deny all defensive enhances to your opponent. You don't have to worry about offensive enhances. And it's a very fun and kind of unfair keyword when you think about it. So we start with Tornado Fist, a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 4 high for 5 with a 2 high block, Says response, after this attack deals damage, discard it from your card pool or add the top card of your deck to your momentum. So this can either clear itself on hit, or you can get a free momentum out of it, and then, of course, since this dealt damage, you'd get another momentum at the end of the turn. So with Jin, this is usually going to be a 6 high for 5, sometimes a 7 high for 5, that again, your opponent doesn't get to use defensive enhances against. Moving on, we have Gently Theft, my boy Gentle Criminal. It is a 5/3, 4 mid for 8 with a +2 mid block. It's got the Charge, Flash, Slam, and Taunt keywords. Tripping over my tongue, sorry about that. It says response, discard 1 momentum. After you play this attack, your rival discards a card. So if you snatch a momentum with Tornado Fist, you can then spend that momentum with Gently Theft. And then a Deadlock response, after you play this card, your rival removes 1 card in their hand. So considering you're giving at least 2 speed to every move you play, your opponent might have to build up pretty much to be able to deal with all of the speed that you're throwing, especially if they don't have any enhances with which to defend themselves. And in Jin, this is always going to be at least a 6 speed move, maybe a 7 speed, 7 mid 8. Pretty rough to deal with, especially if you have to discard a card before you can even get a chance to block. Then we have Electromagnetic Bullets, a 4/3, 3 high for 6 with a +2 high block. The Charge, Flash, and Range keywords. Tornado Fist also has Flash and Punch. I don't think I went over those. And this attack says, after you play this attack, flip 1 foundation. So you flip 1 foundation as basically an additional cost to play this card. And it's always going to be a 5 high for 6 or a 6 high for 6 sometimes, and just something that carries that extra speed well, especially for a 4 difficulty attack. And then an often overlooked attack, we have Shrapnel Cloud Release, a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 2 high for 7 with a +2 low block. It's got Charge, Flash, and Ranged. It has a response, after this attack is blocked, your rival commits a foundation. So 2 high 7 doesn't seem so bad. Your opponent obviously wants to block it. They don't want to take 7 damage. But with Jin, you can make this a 4 high 7 or a 5 high 7, forcing your opponent to then commit foundations to pass the check to block, and then commit an additional foundation simply for not taking 7 damage to the face. Pretty solid, if I do say so. Then we have Tornado Charge. This is one of our only non-flash cards that we have in the deck. It is a 4/3, 4 mid for 4 with a +2 mid block. It's got charge and slam. And it says enhance, your next attack gets 3 damage. So one thing that you struggle with flash attacks is stats. You don't get to boost them with enhances, so you're often dealing with just your printed stats. So things like Jin, that add stats at response speed, or Tornado Charge, which carry over stats, can be really helpful. So you can make Tornado Fist a 4 high for 8, Gently Theft a 4 mid for 11, Electromagnetic Bullets a 3 high for 9, just for playing Tornado Charge. And then again, putting speed on your attack as a response, and your opponent not being able to defensively enhance can make those attacks really threatening. And finally, we have Wind Barrier, a 3 difficulty, 3 control, 3 mid for 3 with a +1 mid block. It's got the Breaker 1 keyword, which means if you block with it, your rival's next check gets -1. And it has a static that says, while this card is in your card pool, your rival's attacks get -2 speed. So just for blocking with this, all of your opponent's attacks get -2 speed. If you use Jin, they get -2 speed on top of that, sometimes -3. So with Wind Barrier and Jin, you could be giving -4 or -5 speed to every single attack your opponent plays, which is the main reason why I don't have Barrier Shield in my Jin deck. I just didn't find it necessary. Yes, it could be added in simply for the fact that it gives Breaker 2 to your block, but Jin does so much defensive speed hate that the speed hate on Shield Barrier just wasn't necessary. And I think if my stats were right, no, they weren't, but I thought at beginning I was running high on high blocks. So moving on to our non-attack cards, we have Cape of No Return, a 3 difficulty, 4 control, +3 high block asset with the unique keyword. It says enhance remove this attack from the game. This says don't bother using Jin, just don't worry about this attack. The first chance you get, yeet this attack from the game, period. If your opponent doesn't have a way to cancel this enhance, they lose that attack entirely. And that's why I think Jin doesn't necessarily need the extra help from Shield Barrier, or Barrier Shield. I know it could be useful, one of those it certainly can't hurt kind of deals, but I feel like you could use your defensive pieces a little bit better than simply another action to then use as a block. So basically using 2 cards to block 1, when you have Cape of No Return, which can just remove it entirely. And then another thing that a lot of flash cards need, of course, is damage, which is why we have the Tornado Charge, but I thought we'd use Maximum Hardening as well. A 2 difficulty, 5 control, +2 mid-block action. It says, form, for the rest of this turn, your attacks get +2 damage. So if you start your turn with a Maximum Hardening, Jin says all of your attacks get +2 speed, or +3 speed, and +2 damage. So Tornado Fist is at minimum, 6 high 7. Gently Theft, 6 mid 8. Electromagnetic Bullets, 5 high 8. With just Maximum Hardening and Jin, all of your attacks are instant threats, and that can really put your opponent in a bind. Excuse me. Plus, it's got a handy response. After you block an attack with this card, that attack gets -4 damage, and you may commit a foundation to build this card face down. So it's a block that will build itself, basically replacing the foundation you committed, and if you were to partial block an attack, or block a throw, that attack gets -4 damage, so that's way less damage that you're taking. So, might be worth giving up the Breaker 2 on Barrier Shield. I think Maximum Hardening gives you that pivot of offensive pressure and defensive assistance that Barrier Shield just simply doesn't offer. Moving on to our foundations, we have Lively Defense, a 2/5 with a +3 mid-block. It says enhance commit, discard 1 card played as a block from your card pool. This attack gets -2 speed. So again, -2 speed or 3 speed with Jin, -2 speed from Wind Barrier, -2 speed from Lively Defense. Shield Barrier is looking more and more like excess. So that's why a lot of people might say it's a void deck. You really want the barrier shield. I'm saying Jin doesn't need barrier shield. The Breaker 2 could be nice, but you've got enough defense with all of the rest of your kit that it's really just superfluous at this point. Then we have Masho Concealment, a 2/5 with a +3 mid-block, the ally and unique keywords. It says, response commit after your rival plays an enhance ability on a foundation, cancel it. So you commit to cancel as opposed to Togoro's dominance where you destroy to destroy. So this is more repeatable. And then Team Masho Enhance, this attack gets -1 speed or +1 damage, and we do have the Team Masho trait. So we can give Wind Barrier and Tornado Charge +1 damage, or if our opponent somehow removes our Flash keyword, sealing our attack or preventing us from using the Flash keyword, we can give those attacks +1 damage. And again, as long as it's ready, all of your rival's attacks get -1 speed. He's going to reduce every attack speed to 0. It's insane. Next up, Master of Wind, a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 high block. It says response after you play an attack. If it is the only attack in your card pool, it gets +3 damage. So Tornado Fist can wear this well, making it a 4 high for 8, 6 high for 8 in Jin. And then if it deals damage, you can discard it from the card pool, play your next attack, say an Electromagnetic Bullets, and then flip another Master of Wind to give this +3 damage, making it a 5 high 9 essentially. Or if you know what your opponent's playing with and you know your attack's going to hit, you can flip a whole bunch of Master of Winds and just stack all the damage on that first attack. If you can guarantee it's going to hit, of course. Then we have Botan's Coaching, a 0/5 with a +3 mid-block. With Enhance Flip, both players discard 1 card and draw 1 card. Good defensive draw, even if you're just defensively cycling, trying to get a better block zone or to draw into a wind barrier. Just always good to have. And of course, Elasticity, a 2/5 with a +3 high block. It says response, flip after an attack is blocked. The next attack this turn gets +3 or -3 damage. Again, if they block our flashes, carrying over extra damage onto the next flash that's going to be very fast, very strong, and very hard to deal with. So, again, usually our opening attack doesn't really matter much. Obviously, if it's like a Tornado Fist, we want it to hit, or if it's a Tornado Charge, it doesn't really matter. But we do want to throw all that extra damage onto the attacks that our rival is likely not going to be able to block, since we're giving at least 2 speed to every attack. We've got a couple of Keeping Airy Safe, a 0/5 with a +2 mid-block. It says response once per turn after this card is committed due to your rival's effect. Ready it. Playable while committed. Some good stun hate. There is basically a stun team in this set, in Team Rokuyukai, so having some stun hate, always going to be useful. We've got Learning the Standards, a 2/5 with a +3 mid-block. It's got response, flip, after your rival builds an asset or foundation during the combat phase, flip it. Kuwabara can build during the combat phase. Younger Toguro builds his things face down. Bui builds his things face down, so that's not really necessary so much. But response remove after you take damage from an unblocked attack, your rival must play a non-attack card as their next form or end their combat phase. So if you're worried that maybe your speed pump is not going to be enough to carry you through your opponent's next turn, giving them +1 progressive difficulty for the rest of their turn could be enough to make them commit enough foundations that on your turn, they can't handle your speed. So in some cases, it might be worth taking the free shot, even though you can obviously speed hate them into oblivion, just to interrupt the rest of their turn. And then with all of our speed boosting, we obviously want I Am the Dragon, a 2/5 with a +2 mid-block. It says response, commit, lose 1 health. After your attack is not blocked, it gains 2 damage. So if your opponent sees a Shrapnel Cloud release, and they don't want to commit a bunch of foundations to block it, you can just stack more damage on it. Instead of taking 7, they're taking 9, or 11, or whatever other floating damage you've put onto it. So really making your opponent question taking any sort of free hit. Even throwing a wind barrier for 5 damage could turn into 7 or 9 if you I am the dragon. And again, you're putting so much speed on every attack that some of them are going to get through clean. Let's be honest. Then we've got Sense of Justice, a 2/5 with a +2 high block. It says enhance commit, name a keyword. Your rival's attack gets -X speed, more speed hate, or -X damage. X equals the number of attacks with that keyword in their card pool. So again, with these tribal decks like Tribal Charge, Tribal Fury, Tribal Punch, Tribal Kick, where all of the attacks share that one keyword trait, this could be amazing as a late turn defense piece to either drop their speed all the way down, or if you have no cards in hand, just cancel out as much damage as absolutely possible. Excuse me. Moving on, we've got Saving Bakugo, a 0/5 with a +3 mid-block and the ally keyword. It says response, flip after one of your foundations is flipped due to a rival effect, unflip it and draw a card. Now this doesn't say non-character effect, so if your opponent is playing Chew and they commit and flip your card, you can unflip it, even though it stays committed, and draw a card. There are some things like we get Byakko again, and Byakko does a lot with flipping your opponent's stage, so this could be a good piece to, if they don't target Saving Bakugo, you can unflip whatever they flipped and draw a card. Then we've got Kirishima's Assistance. One thing that string decks hate is Breaker. So this 1/5 with a +3 low block says response, flip after your rival partially blocks your attack, seal their block. So if they try to half block you on some of your highs or your mids with a Breaker, you're able to seal the Breaker before it goes off. And then next up we have Can't Escape Me, a 2/5 with a +3 mid-block. It says response, destroy after your rival plays an ability on a non-character card that adds any number of cards to their hand, cancel it. There is a lot of draw in this set, especially with staples like Botan's Coaching, to force your opponent to then cancel. And of course with Botan's Coaching, the discard is a part of the effect, not a cost, so neither of you would discard or draw, but it could deny your opponent some critical cards at a critical moment. And then Deadlock Enhance Commit, your attack gets +1 speed for each committed rival foundation. Don't know how much you're going to use that, it's mainly here to discourage draw effects. Then we've got Petty Squabble, because maybe sometimes it's better to use your character in another way other than his own cancellation ability. This says response, once per turn, discard one card. After your rival plays an ability on a foundation, commit one rival copy of that card. So if they have 2 copies of a card that commit for a cost, you can commit both of them by discarding one card. But better yet, enhance, commit your character, both players discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. So this is a bit of an advanced version of Botan's Coaching, but instead of discarding 1 and drawing 1, you're discarding 2 and drawing 2. And again, since the discard is a part of the effect and not the cost, you fulfill as much as you can. So if you only have 1 card in hand, you discard 1, draw 2. If you have no cards in hand, you simply draw 2. So this could be a way to extend your strings, especially on if you start with maybe like a Tornado Charge or a Wind Barrier, or defensively, if you find that your opponent's not playing any real enhances on their attacks that you would want to cancel, like nothing you're really afraid of, you can just try to draw better blocks or more blocks. Then we have Idle Work, a 1/5 with a +2 low block. It's mainly here as a deadlock breaker. It says enhance, destroy one foundation. If this attack deals no damage, draw 1 card and discard a card. So if you're trying to fish for more blocks and you have good blocks like maximum hardening, or you can fully block the attack that you know your opponent's throwing at you, you can guarantee destroy a committed foundation and then block their attack. It deals no damage, you draw a card, you discard a card, you keep your better blocks in hand. And finally, we have Fruits of Our Labors, a 1/5 with a +2 low block. It says enhance rival's turn, remove, discard 2 cards from your card pool. Kurama is going to be everywhere, I feel, because just being able to freely stuff your opponent's card pool every attack seems a little mean. So you're going to need some card pool clearing, either from your blocks or anything else. I mean, you do have lively defense to discard the cards you play as blocks, so that's some card pool clearing. But Fruits of Our Labors could be a good eject button to just dump cards out of your card pool if need be on your rival's turn to make sure that you can save room for more blocks. And then it has Deadlock, Form, Flip. Your rival builds one card from their hand face down. So if they go into Deadlock, trying to block all of your very fast moves, you can just rip a card out of their hand at the start of your turn, and then maybe Gently Theft to rip another 2 cards out of their hand, and just punch them in the face with all your very fast flash attacks. So that is our first look at Jin. I know some people might be, wondering why I didn't throw Barrier Shield in here, but I do think I have gone over that enough to justify my reasons why this deck doesn't need any more speed hate. I do agree that having turning any attack into any block into a Breaker 2 is amazing, but I do think that, at least on first blush, I did enough to where Jin wouldn't necessarily need the Breaker 2. I think this guy is going to be all over the place. He's going to be very difficult to take down just because of the amount of speed control that he inhabits on face, unless you have a way to seal him, because just committing him with something like Blood Curdle isn't enough because his response is tenacious. So you have to seal him somehow to prevent him from doing this. Or if Jin is going to be all over the place, maybe you side deck into a mill strategy. Since he has to mill 1 for his abilities, you just try to mill him out as fast as possible so that he can't do this with every attack without severely punishing himself and wondering if he's going to mill his own deck out. I know mill strategies are really hard to do these days because of how our game operates in the cycle system, but it might be enough to make Jin think twice about milling 1 for every single attack if you're also milling multiple attacks or multiple cards off of his deck, because once he loses most of his attacks in a cycle or 2, Jin's not going to be doing anything, and you're just going to win that war of attrition. So maybe some mill strategies could be a fun or decent side option to Jin, something like a Night Eye. So if you're on like the All symbol, running Night Eye or siding into Night Eye with Final Exam Gut Shot, and just try to mill Jin out faster than he can stop all of your attacks. Not saying it's perfect, it's probably not even great, but it is something to think about. And if there's one thing I want to do with my channel is to get people thinking. So with that said, what do you guys think of my first thoughts on Jin, my first take? I know a lot of people have been talking about flashes with him, and honestly, I think it's a great start. I think denying your opponent the ability to defensively enhance to protect themselves is a really good start of looking at how you want to run this character. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you love deck building content and you just want to help get your gears turning, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. I would love the extra support. Feel free to tell me in the comments what you think of Jin as a character, what characters from Dark Tournament you're looking forward to playing, which ones you think are going to be the most meta-defining. I love all the engagement that I can get, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.